I'm here to talk about anger. All right, so as promised, I'm doing a series on the major negative emotional states and how it impacts our leadership, our personal and interpersonal leadership skills. Anger, every emotion has a feedback signal. If you haven't watched the video on what are emotions, time to go back, watch that one, and get up to speed. Let's jump straight in with our friend, anger. Our friend, anger. It is our number one protector. Anger tells us that a rule or boundary is being crossed. And we can be angry with ourselves, which means we've crossed one of our own rules or boundaries, or we can be angry with other people because they have crossed our rules or boundaries, or we can be angry at things, inanimate objects, the weather, the environment, our car's battery when it goes flat, our systems when they break down. We can be angry at the world. There are limitless things that human beings can find to be angry at. So the impact of anger as a leader is, first of all, if you're angry with yourself all the time, you end up in some pretty negative feedback loops behaviorally. So that leads to mistrusting of yourself. It's unhealthy for you because the constant adrenaline starts to essentially cook you from inside and limit your higher brain functions. And then the impact on other people when they experience even low level irritation, aggression or frustration persistently from a leader is they gradually sense that they are not safe. So anger's job is to say someone's crossed a rule or boundary. This rule or boundary, my physical environment, remember it's evolved as a physical survival response. And all our brainstem can perceive is that when something's crossed a boundary, our job is to enforce our boundary, reinforce our territory, get strong again, be safe again, and protect ourselves. So it's naturally an emotion. Even the word anger sounds a little bit like aggression, and we can be just a little bit ticked off, or we could be absolutely uncontrollable rage. There's that full spectrum of anger based on how big the boundary or the rule is that has been violated. So the persistent message that people will get from us if we're a little bit annoyed all the time, ticked off all the time, angry all the time, or leaking little bits of aggression all the time is that they are not safe with you. They need to stay away from you. So a lot of leaders, without knowing it, use a low level of irritation to keep people away from them in their organization. The easiest way to keep people away and to stop bothering you or interfering with you is just to appear a little bit tense and a little bit ticked off all the time. So pay attention to that. Pay attention if you feel like you should be putting on a front or just putting out that little edge when you're around people. You're doing that to keep people away from you. And if you didn't know about it, well, guess what? It's effective. People will distance themselves from you. Another thing to know about when we communicate in anger is that when someone communicates in anger, the recipient doesn't typically hear the content of the communication. Their brain, their lower brain, the animal brain, protecting them, it's doing its job, it doesn't hear the words, it simply hears the aggression, it hears the threat. So even if there's no threats being made, even if there's no direct physical safety issue, the brain will still think, whoa, 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 this person is a danger to me, distance myself. So this is why when people argue or communicate when there's an aggressive tone, oftentimes the content is either not heard, and it's a bunch of, well, didn't you say this, or didn't you say that, or I thought you said this. And so you get this world of distortion where people don't actually hear what you're trying to say. So if you're trying to have an impact in your communication, when you're angry is not the time to say it. If you're a very calm, controlled, and generous leader in your style, and people very rarely experience you ticked off, intentionally using a little bit of frustration and irritation when it's deliberate and when it's controlled can be very powerful. But for most of us, anger is unchecked, it's unregulated, and we don't walk around the world saying, oh, that's a rule or boundary that's been violated, I need to correct that rule or boundary. No, we simply just get ticked off and either repress the emotion so it leaks out as frustration or irritation and people getting a general sense of tension from you as a leader, or you have your reactions. So you have your explosiveness, you have your slamming things down on a desk, you have your closing the door, you have your stomping that little bit louder, all those little leaks of anger reactions. I hope this has been interesting for you guys, learning that anger is not some emotion that it's outside of your control or just happens for no reason. It's very specifically when a rule or boundary has been violated. The feedback is go correct the boundary. Go assert the rule. Of course, if the rule or boundary is irrational or silly or an old one from the past that doesn't apply to the present situation, then you need to reevaluate the rule or boundary. Now, if any of you need to talk about how anger is impacting your leadership, or you see anger in your culture, let me know. Download my video series on the leadership focus, get onto a booking with me so that we can talk about where unregulated or immature emotional states are impacting your culture negatively and clouding your ability to lead. My name's Emily Diamond. I look forward to speaking with you.